We are live, and you guys are lucky.
I will read. Oh, never mind. Sorry.
You guys are lucky you didn't hear what happened in the pre-show.
I was singing it.
The ugly scene. Ugly scene indeed. Memories, bad memories being brought up by Mike, but it's all right.
I'm here to remember everything. The bad.
Yes, bring up something that was painful. But that's all right. No, and I don't. I still.
Yeah, let's talk about when my dog died. No.
Nothing against Paula Cole. Anyway, moving forward.
Jeez.
No, wait. She had it. What was her song? It was something
Where have
about
all the cowboys? Where have all the cowboys gone?
Yeah, that's it. It's the only one I know.
I think it was Where Have All the Cowboys Gone? Oh, that's right. They're probably opening for other people. Anyway, all right. Let's start here with so let's get right in. Oh, you guys have anything to start? Actually, let's get right into it today.
Actually, I do. On Twitter. No, it's on Twitter. You could just download it, and we'll talk about it during the show. It's the new Metro sweaters. I just got a picture of them.
Oh, cool. Yeah, send it to me. That'd be great. Or
it's on your Twitter account. Well, it's not on your Twitter. I forgot that. It's on mine. Here, I'll include you on it. I realize.
What is it again? What is it again?
The new Metro jerseys from Adidas.
You put a link in the in our chat. It'll be easier.
No, that never works. Does that ever work?
Works.
No.
Yeah, it does. It works pretty well.
All right, hold on. I'm going to do that.
I don't have my Twitter open during the show, so I'm like, because I get crazy about leave stupid stuff.
He's going Twitterless, folks.
I try during the show at least because I get too many people on Twitter, so it gets too distracting. I'm not my ADD can't handle all that. It's too much stuff happening there at once.
Okay. No, I get that. I mean, we can start the show and then I'll give it to you because my thing is
sounds good. All right, ready, Hockey World? Hello, Hockey World. It's Tuesday, September 12th, 2017.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I am Eklund, and you're watching HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And today we're going to get into a preview that people have been asking for a while. We're going to talk about the Montreal Canadiens, and that'll be fun. So that's a little bit of a treat for the end of the show. I'm sure Mike has nothing but positive things to say about the Canadiens.
Oh, yes.
And we'll move on from there. That worked fine. Thanks, Mus. I got that. And what I'm going to do is first start off today. We have some PTOs as well that are being signed and stuff like that. We'll get into all the others as well, including Chris Vandevelde, who is like a special place in the heart of our family here for some reason, because there's a saying that goes along with Vandevelde. But I won't get into it. But I like Chris Vandevelde, and he was definitely one of Hackstall's favorite players.
Without a doubt, I think he played every game last year.
Yeah, he did. He played every game, and not many players like of his ilk.
Of his ilk.
Of his ilk would do that. But he always gave a good effort. But let's move on to. I wanted to get into today my wackiest prediction blog, because that's always fun. I like to hear what you guys have to say about it, because you guys always rip me apart about it. And last year you ripped me apart about it, and I was pretty close on some things that I said last year. So
I think we're mean about that. I don't know.
Well, I'm never mean. There's no way that I was mean. No.
So last year for just a second.
I purposely did not look at these because I wanted to hear them fresh out of your mouth, so you could get a real reaction out of me.
That's good. I'm glad you didn't look at them. All right, prediction number one from last year. Just a couple little things to show that I'm not totally clueless. By the way, I
definitely wouldn't look at worthless predictions. I mean, I don't.
In my normal predictions last year, I did have a couple things that were pretty cool. I had the Predators making the playoffs barely, but then going all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, which was obviously true, and I had the Senators making the playoffs, which a lot of people didn't.
That's true.
But then in my wacky predictions, here was my number one last year was after no Canadian teams would make the playoffs in 15-16. I predict 5 teams will make the playoffs in 16-17. How about that? 5 Canadian teams. Count it. Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, Toronto, and Ottawa all made the playoffs. I got that one right. But then it went south really fast. I should have just stopped after one prediction last year. Number 2 was Anthony Duclair will be top 10 in NHL scoring. So that was not exactly did not exactly happen.
He wasn't top 10 in AHL scoring.
Maybe. Was he even? No.
No.
No, he might have been. I don't know.
Prediction number 3. I said we'll see 3 coaches fired by Christmas, and this went along with the fact that the year before I said we would go through a season without any coaches getting fired at all. And actually what happened was there were 2 fired by Christmas, if you remember, Gallant and Capuano, and then Hitchcock would be fired in January, followed by Julian and Terrien quickly after that in February. So there were a lot of coaches fired almost by Christmas.
I'd be prepared to give you half credit on that one because you came close.
came close. There's a couple more that I got dead on. Ben Bishop will be moved at or before the trade deadline. That was, in retrospect, it wasn't maybe the wackiest of predictions, but
no.
But I did at that point, we're coming off of a season where, the Lightning had gone pretty far. Ben Bishop had been a big factor. Remember, this is before the season started last year. It was kind of hard to imagine that they would move him in the middle of the season, but the way how things went with Tampa.
The Stamkos injury and the struggles early in the season helped that along.
Yeah, that helped a lot along. Number 7 was the Vegas team will be named the Knights after all. And at that point, if you remember, we were all debating what the name of the team would be. It wouldn't be the Knights. It wouldn't be the Knights. It wouldn't be the Knights. It was kind of half credit again, I think, because he wanted to call it the Black Knights, right? And it ended up being the Golden Knights. But it did end up being called the Knights. So there was a lot of talk about it could be called something else. Number 8 was the Winnipeg Jets will finish ahead of the LA Kings in the standings. That happened by 1 point. Got lucky on that one, but right to the end of the year.
Hey, you said it. It was good.
I got it. And then one I came kind of close on. Werenski will win the Calder over Matthews and Laine. Obviously, he didn't, but I think Werenski did everything he could have and would have won the Calder in almost any other year.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like the year before, he would have won the Calder for sure with that kind of season. Matthews just had an unbelievable season, as did Laine for the most part. So I don't know.
There were so many rookies that were good last year. I mean, Aho had a great year.
Right. I did have a couple that were very, very wrong. Of course, I had the Flyers starting goalie in the playoffs will not be Mason Oy Neuwirth. Well, there was no playoffs for the Flyers at all. So that was true. You got that one. And I did predict that Matt Murray would win the Vezina, but he did not because, of course, he got hurt. So
yeah, that's a tough one. But,
yeah. All right, so here we go with X5th Annual Wackies Predictions, said by me and taken apart by Mike and Russ, and all of you out there as well. All right.
Number 1.
The Predators are the new LA Kings. They will find a way into the playoffs after an okay regular season, but will be the team that no one wants to play and will again make it to the Stanley Cup Finals.
No. That's a no.
That's a no. Mike?
They will not make this. They'll make the playoffs, but they will not make the Stanley Cup Finals again.
No.
You don't see them as suddenly this team to beat.
I'll give you 2 reasons why. I think they will be a tough team to play against.
Yes.
I think Rene will have some injury, and if they're really banking on UC Saros, I do not like what I saw out of Saros last year. He would have to completely turn it around from what he showed in the Stanley Cup to do it. Now everybody goes, well, it's a tough position, whatever. Like, that's it. That's your backup position. Like, it doesn't matter when you get called upon.
Saros was really good in the regular season for the Predators.
But it doesn't matter. Regular season.
That was a weird spot. If you're going against Pittsburgh Penguins, I do get more.
But it doesn't matter. Like, this is where you have to prove yourself.
Come on, Russ. This is where Anders Lindbach makes his big comeback. But I think
Mike's wacky prediction.
Yeah, there you go. I think that the injury to Ryan Ellis is bigger than people are making out right now. I mean, you're talking about that top 4 that played mucho minutes during the playoffs, and that he and his mobility, replacing it with that hatchet man, Alexei Emelin, who I think has slowed down and is not that good of a defenseman. I think is a big drop. Now, if they get him back, say middle of the year, and he doesn't skip a beat, then they're fine. But it's going to be a loss for them, and I'm not sure. I mean, I think they'll make the playoffs, but I think that's going to hurt them a bit.
Yeah, I mean, as good as they were, they did play in the Stanley Cup Finals and even the conference finals without a lot of key players too. So they really had some forwards that were really. And we'll see.
And we'll see if Fiala comes back 100%. I mean, he's probably not going to start the year with a breaking a leg in the playoffs. And you got Bonino settling in, but I think it's going to take a little bit of time for that team to sort of get. And there could be a little bit of a Stanley Cup hangover as well. So I think they'll make the playoffs, but I think they're struggling.
I love Fiala, and I love the Bonino signing. So, but I think if Fiala comes back at all, like he was on his way to becoming quite a player.
Yeah.
All right, number 2, the Toronto Maple Leafs will add Andrei Markov after the Olympics prior to the trade deadline.
I don't think so. No, I don't. If Andrei Markov was a right-hand shot defenseman, I would say yes, but they've got a lot. They have 2 Swedish players in Borgman and Rosen, Travis Dermott, who they like a lot as left-hand shot defenseman. I don't think Markov is the guy. I think there's a greater chance of them making a trade before the deadline for somebody who's got a year or so left in a contract, i.e. somebody like Drew Doughty if the Kings fall apart, but that may not happen. But I don't see Markov. I actually, if you alter that prediction, Eck, and say Markov coming back to the Canadians, I could see that.
I think that's something. I think some bridges have been burned there.
Maybe
talking to people, but I think that Toronto would be an exciting place for him to come back to. And he's he's an experienced guy, experienced defender, won't cost you much. Toronto will be.
No, I disagree. I think he'll still be looking, even on a prorated deal, to make like $1 million or $1.5 million, and that's probably not something Lou is going to want to do. But he's not going to come in cheap.
Yeah, and the thing is, and it may be PR spin, but at the end, even after he's signed in the KHL, he was very complimentary of Montreal, and it sounded like he wanted to come back. So that's why I think if after February 25th, after the Olympics, he has an out in his contract, I wouldn't be surprised if the Canadians are in the race that he goes back to them.
Yeah, I don't think it'll go over well if he shows or wears that gold medal that he's going to have around his neck in the Leafs locker room. I just don't think it's going to fly well.
We'll get to that later in my predictions.
It'll fly well with Nikita Zaitsev, but maybe not a few other people.
Right.
The champion of the Central Division during the regular season will be, this is number 3, by the way, the champion of the Central Division will be the Winnipeg Jets.
No way.
That's my prediction for the Central.
I'm going to go that's a no.
A no.
I mean, it's easier to say no than yes with your predictions.
Of course, you're supposed to be wacky predictions, all right? So you're supposed to every year some of them come true. So
that's 9 on a wacky scale.
Yes.
Okay. All right, yeah. Give me your. That's a 9 wax, right?
That's a 9.
That's a 9. That's a wacky 9. I really
9 wax. We'll call it. All right. The number 4. The Chicago Blackhawks will have to fight for their lives to make the playoffs as a wild card team.
No, that's not crazy.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Okay, good. Number 5. Montreal will make the biggest trade of the 2017 NHL season with the St. Louis Blues.
So you're thinking they're going to trade for Paul Stastny, is what you're saying?
I'm thinking that Montreal and St. Louis will be in similar situations when it gets down to the deadline. Like, I think Montreal will have. St. Louis, I think, will be okay, but not great and not guaranteed a spot and finding and having issues. Montreal will be in that same boat. We'll talk about them later, but I have a feeling, and those two teams both need to do something this year. They're both, when you look at Eastern and Western Conference teams, to me, they're two of the teams that need to do something.
Well, Montreal is positioned for that big trade because they didn't sign Markov, and I think they have around $8 million in cap space.
Right.
But I don't know about St. Louis. I would be surprised if St. Louis is going to make a dramatic move. They're not. I don't think they're going to trade any of their defensemen, Parayko, Pietrangelo, or Bouwmeester. And if they do trade somebody up front, it's not going to be a guy like Tarasenko. It's probably going to be either a young guy like maybe Fabry if they soured on him, or a veteran like Paul Stastny, who's really expensive, and Montreal could fit under the cap. I think if Montreal makes the big move is going to be Tavares. If the Islanders can't get him signed by the deadline, Montreal's in the playoff race, they'll probably expend every asset they can to get Tavares and then try to sign him to an extension.
I'm looking through transactions for the Blues at the deadline, and they've really only made like 3 big deadline deals, maybe 4 if you want to count Eric Brewer, but I can't count that. So I'm going to go, this is a 9 on the wacky scale, because Armstrong, that's not his thing usually.
That's Jim Bettenkirk. That was a big trade.
Yeah, but they weren't going to sign him, so that was out of necessity.
That was out of necessity. Yes.
Yeah. What, Russ? You don't consider the Ole Jokinen deal with Toronto a major deadline move?
No, like Yarrow Halak, if you want to count that. If you want to count Adam Oates, yes. But they haven't had a ton of
Kachuk and things like that. You remember that they traded Kachuk, I think.
Not at the deadline.
Wasn't the deal that they made in '89, but with Calgary,
Frank Conroy?
No. Trade, right? That included Gilmore, right?
I think that was a deadline deal.
That was a deadline deal. That was a huge trade. That was like 6.
Yeah, so they've had 3 or 4 big deadline deals.
That was
1989. That doesn't have anything to do with this, but that
was 28 years ago. I know, but still. Anyway.
All right, just number 6. Despite saying they will retire as Canucks at some point this season, a major Canadian media outlet, which would have 3 initials, will report they are considering being rentals. So at some point this year, TSN will report that the Canucks twins we'll report the Sedins as being rentals.
That is a 12 on the wacky scale.
Is it okay? I'll do it two ways. Is it wacky that an outlet will report it? No. Is it going to happen? 10 wackies. It's not happening.
Yeah, I'm giving 12. I'm giving 12 that.
You think
the limit's 10 here, Russ. Let's not get out of.
All right, fine.
It doesn't happen. All right, is that?
It's a 10.
Okay, at some point this season. All right, we'll see. All right, number 7. The LA Kings, Jonathan Quick, will dominate the first 2 months of the season, but the Kings will still not make the playoffs.
That's a 7 on the wacky scale.
If Quick is dominant, I mean, you said the first 2 months. So
First 2 months of the season, right?
Yeah, I mean, if his groin wears out or something like that, then that throws everything under the bus. But if he's dominant the first 2 months, then the Kings are having success. Then the Kings will be in the playoff race.
I would liken it to the LA Dodgers, who in baseball got off to a massive start, and they're coasting in now, and probably I don't know if they won yesterday, but they lost like 14 out of 15 after piling up wins. I mean, piling them up.
They were 54 games over 500, Russ, right. and now they've taken the foot off the gas pedal, and just because it's sports. I don't know what is worse, to be in the Dodgers position, being so far up and then taking your foot off the gas pedal, or Cleveland right now, who've won 19 in a row, and it's only September the 12th. I mean, you're blowing your doors off right now, and you're the hottest team in Major League Baseball, but playoffs are 3 weeks away.
They're both bad.
They're both bad.
But the Dodgers is worse, and I just think if the Kings were to pile up those wins, it will be hard for them not to make it.
Yep.
All right. Okay, number 8. The Philadelphia Flyers will be leading the Metro Division on January 1st, 2018.
That is a 10.
That's a 10 wacky.
10 wacky, all right. I'm not saying where they'll finish, but I have a feeling this Flyers team is going to get off to it. The Flyers have a history of going back and forth with good and bad. It feels like this team could go off to a very, very, very quick start.
I know. See, the thing is, I know Pittsburgh could get off to a slow start after 2 straight Stanley Cups and long runs, and they usually start slower and then finish the season strong. Washington, I think, has got something to prove, but they have less firepower than they have in the past. There are 2 teams right now in the Metro, that Columbus and Carolina. I think Carolina is a playoff team. I really do.
I think the Rangers will get off to a good start too.
And I think the Rangers with Shattenkirk will be fantastic.
They could. All right, number 9. The Tampa Bay Lightning will win the Atlantic Division by more than 15 points.
That's about a 2 wacky. I think they're going to win the division.
Yeah, I think that's a 4 wacky.
15, yeah. I was going to go 20, but I was like, 15, I think.
Yeah, no, I'd say 10 is more right on. But if again, knock on wood for them, if Stamkos stays healthy, they're the best team. I think they're the best team in the Eastern Conference.
I like it. Number 10, the Toronto Maple Leafs will be 1 game away from the Stanley Cup final.
That's a 10 wacky. I think that the Leafs will make the playoffs. I think there'll be improvement with the veteran guys that they brought in.
So they win around, right?
I think they'll win around. I do not think that they'll get out of the Atlantic Division. They'll probably end up losing to Tampa Bay in the second round.
It's a 10 wacky.
Yeah, I mean, I like the direction they're going. They've got a ton of talent, a lot of youth. But you have to consider the fact they've got unrestricted free agents in Van Riemsdyk and Bozak with a lot of depth up front. They may trade those guys off before the deadline because they have an opportunity to get assets, and you have to manage your assets. And the defense, they really did not upgrade it that much. Ron Hainsey was a good veteran add, but you're depending a lot on a lot of young players to step up. I just don't think their defense is up to it right now. So I think they'll be improved, but I don't think they're going to get to the conference final.
I think they're tough enough to get to the. I mean, they were 1 game away from the conference final last year. I think they're tough enough to. They were. I mean, they lost in the first round. Who were we talking about?
I think that
this
year. I think the competition this year to get to the conference final will be too much for them.
Yes.
Right, I apologize. Yeah, they lost to Washington the first round. I was thinking the second round for second. Yeah, but okay, yeah. So they still have to go through 2 rounds.
Yeah,
I like it. Number 11, Jack Eichel will be one of the top 3 finalists for the Hart Trophy.
I mean, that's not crazy. I'll put a 1 on that, 1 or a 2.
That's not crazy, but I'll put a caveat on that. If
you can't move the
Hart Trophy, Jack Eichel,
there are no caveats. If you wouldn't let me do a 12, there's no caveat.
I think that's pretty crazy because I mean, Jack Eichel had like, has he ever been?
Well, this
Well, he was a Hobie Baker finalist, so it's not outrageous.
This is the factor that could vault him to that level. If he does not sign his 8-year extension this year, he will be super motivated to put up big numbers and stick it, where, with the Sabres.
For the man.
That would mean the Buffalo Sabres would have to be pretty darn good for him to be a top 3 finalist. Remember that. That's also I think that Sabres are going to have to be a playoff team at least.
I think that things go right. They're going to be in the mix for the playoffs. I said that when we did the preview. I think if everything goes according to plan, and he stays healthy. I mean, they only scored 201 goals last year. I mean,
there's opportunity there.
Yeah, there is. There's some talent there. So,
and in 2015, Eichel won the Hobie Baker and beat out Jimmy Vesey. So I think it's not outrageous.
All right, number 12, the Vegas Golden Knights will finish ahead of 2 teams in the West. I've already said this on the show, but I think that they will finish ahead of 2 teams in the West.
That's a 10.
Yeah, that's a 10. I think they'll finish ahead of 1, not 2.
Okay. Number 13, the Oilers and Flames will finish 1 and 2 in the Pacific. Not sure what order yet, but I think
that's a 1.
That's a 10. That's a 10.
No, that's a 1 for me.
Because Anaheim is going to finish in the.
I mean, they should, but something could happen. I'm going to say.
I also wanted to say that the Oilers and Flames will finish ahead of the.
I don't think it's that outrageous.
Ahead of the top 2 teams in California.
I mean, you get one
in terms of total points. Yeah,
Anaheim just has to make it to the playoffs. They'll be fine in the playoffs.
Yeah, but I just think there's enough talent there, Russ, that they're going to finish first or second. Yeah, especially now with Gibson and Miller as your goaltending tandem.
I know. I'm just thinking injuries and such. That's all.
I think they're both real big question marks. Even though I think they should be this good, I still think people are giving the Flames credit too early, and the Oilers a little bit credit just because of how well they played in the playoffs. But
I think there's question marks with the Oilers. I think
there's question marks with both of them. I agree, but I think that's why I think 1 and 2 is a little bit crazy.
Connor McDavid is the salve that covers the wound for the Oilers. He's the best player or second best player in the NHL, but their defense is still average.
So you're likening Connor McDavid to Oragel? Like, I don't understand.
No, Neosporin, Russ. No.
Oh, okay. Now I get it.
The New York Islanders will extend John Tavares by Christmas after trading for Matt Duchene in November.
That's a 0.
So you think that's possible?
No, I think it's I should take it back. I'm sorry. It's a 10. You're right.
Yeah,
sorry.
10 is the wackiest. 1 is the least.
I know. No, it's a 10.
I don't think he's signing with the Islanders.
I think Matt Duchene is very unhappy, and I think at some point in October or early November he's traded out of there.
I'm not disputing that, but
the Islanders. I think the Islanders are most likely to make that move, and I think because they'll need it, and I think that'll
that will not have any factor on the deal now. It's all about the arena.
Right. Thank you. Exactly. I don't think acquiring Matt Duchene is going to solve the problem of John Tavares wanting to lock himself to that organization. They're a train wreck right now. They don't know where they're going to play.
When Tavares says at that golf outing that it's complicated, that's the complicated part because even the Islanders don't know where they're going to play.
Do you think he really cares where they're going to play?
He definitely cares.
He does. Otherwise, this would get done, Ak. I mean, they're willing. They're willing
about the team he's playing with.
Think about this. If he signs on, hold on. If he signs on for 8 years, and they move to, let's just say, Seattle, just to bring up a different city, that's something that's not comfortable for him. He doesn't want the unknown. He wants the known.
Okay.
Just
I can see what you're saying, Russ, but I don't think they're moving to see. I don't think they're going to let this team move, and I think he knows that they're not going to move. I think it's just a matter of where they play in the area, and I don't think that really matters to him. If you let's take that out of the equation. You say they're not moving, but they could be playing anywhere. Does that matter to him now?
Yes.
If they're still the Islanders, and they could be.
And I got to tell you something. If they said they were staying at Barclays for the next 10 years, I don't think he would sign.
Right, because
I don't think that would matter to him.
It does matter. They don't like the rink there.
Yeah, the rink is terrible.
At the end of the day, he likes. I think he would take the team and his teammates, and the fact he likes.
They don't like the ice there. I'm telling you, there's players that really don't like it there.
And,
no, I do know that's for sure.
And Bettman came out during the media tour last week and said that going back to Nassau Coliseum is not as a non-starter. So that means it has to be a new building.
Right.
It's not going to be Barclays.
Right.
No, it's. I think this is directly tied to Tavares. And by the way, there's Igor Orenko, who's a Russian reporter who is pretty good. He interviewed Andrei Markov and asked him if he regretted that he couldn't play 1,000 games in the NHL, and Markov responded, "Why do you think I'm done there?" So we
know that. Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yep.
Number 15, Matt Murray will win the Vezina. I brought it back from last year again. I'm going with it again. I love Matt Murray. I think he's the next.
I don't think it's crazy. I mean, I'll give that a 3.
I'll give it a 5. I think it's within the realm of possibility. I just think the Penguins are going to struggle a little bit early on because that team has played into June and tough hockey into June 2 years in a row. That's tough.
That's true, and it's very true. I think at the end of the day, he's going to be he's as good. He's Carey Price-like to me. Number 16. Scotty Upshaw will be the hero of the 2018 Olympics for Team Canada, and Casey Middlestat will dominate for Team USA.
Well, Scotty Upshaw might get a job in the NHL. I know he was up. He was. He received a training camp invite, so I don't know if he gets signed.
I would only give that a 3 for the wacky.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean Middlestat, I think is within the realm of possibility. I think he's going to play on the Olympics.
I do too.
I think he'll play on the Olympic team too, for sure. Then to go along with the Olympics, number 17, Team USA will face Team Canada in the gold medal game in both women's and men's hockey.
Women's, yes. Men's, no.
That is a 10 on the wacky scale.
That's a 10.
All right, why? Tell me why.
Because there's no way that U.S.
We don't even know who's on these teams yet, guys.
It doesn't matter. I could give you a broad idea, and I'm just going to say, based on who isn't on that team, they're not making it to the final.
And this isn't a slam on either one, but the odds of two talent-shortened Canadian and U.S. squads in the Olympics facing each other is astronomical. One of them possibly could make it, but I think the other one is probably going to be Russia unless they choke the bone, which they've done in the Olympics in previous instances.
But I will say this, Mike. Canada's more likely to make it than the U.S. because of Ben Scrivens. You could laugh, but it's true.
No, let's just hope Mike Koska doesn't shoot the puck off a stanchion. And sorry, just kidding.
Number 18. We will see a surprising uptick in fighting in the NHL this year, especially early on. We'll see 500 fights this season for the first time since 2011-12.
Wow, come on.
Last season we had 372 fights. The team with the most fights this year, the Vegas Knights.
I think that there could be an uptick in fighting, but I don't think 500 fights. I think
who's going to be the number one pugilist on the Vegas Knights?
I am not sure.
So you're basing it on a blind study.
I'm basing it on the fact that I think I know there's enough pugilists on that team that are only there for 1 year that have nothing to lose, and there will be enough people on that team. Like I could see Pierre-Edouard Bellemare,
the leading fighter will be Derek England because that's what
it'll be England. He has 1 more year, so it'll be him.
Right, but I would say, and I don't know how many fights were in the league last year, but I would assume it's probably half of 500 or around there. I'd say maybe there'll be a slight uptick, but there's no way it's gonna be 500.
It's a 10. Go ahead.
You guys are gonna be like, this is gonna be the story in the first 2 months of the season. How much?
Only if Paul Baxter, George Peros, and Cole.
It's just the biorhythm. I'm telling you, the biorhythm of.
There'll be a fight a game in the preseason. That's guaranteed. They do that.
There's always fights in the preseason. There's like 70 fights in the preseason and 370 fights in the entire NHL season. That's a crazy difference.
I know, but that's what happens.
Number 19, Werenski will be a Norris finalist.
That's like a 2 on wacky.
Yeah, it's not too crazy. I know.
I would say it's about a 4 on wacky, simply because we know how the Norris works, and usually it's guys who have been in the league for a while, and it takes a while to get into that race. So it's going to be tough to. I mean, right now, unless they both are injured, 2 of the spots are taken. It's going to be Doughty. It's going to be Carlson. If they have their normal years, they'll be 2 of the finalists. And Brent Burns has another great year. He'll probably be the 3rd finalist. So if Werenski lights it up, it's a possibility, but I think it's unlikely. So I'll say 4 or 5. Yeah.
Right. Okay. I think that I've talked to some writers who do the voting for this kind of thing, and they do feel bad that Werenski didn't get a chance to win Rookie of the Year because of the situation being so with Matthews being so good. And I think that they'll look at him a little bit in this. I think he might get a little bit more benefit of the doubt because he is that good, and people see him as that good.
When we're voting, writers have no hearts. There's a few on like 5th and 6th place votes.
He's one of those guys that's gotten to people though. He's like, they really like him. If all the players out there, I've been surprised how much they've gotten him. All right, number 20, Nolan Patrick will dominate and find great chemistry with Wayne Simmons and Travis Konechny on a line that will be called Legion of Doom 2.
That's a 7 on the wacky scale.
That's a 10 on the wacky scale.
Legion.
I think there's
I'll just put in by a writer.
I think there's a good chance that Nolan Patrick goes back to the WHL.
I still think it's 50-50, and I'm going to continue with my 50-50 that he goes back.
Yeah, there we go. Well, I don't know. I can see that as a great line. Personally, I can see that those 3 players working really well together, and they really would remind you a little bit of the original Legion of Doom. And Konechny is very much like a Michael Renberg type player. Simmons.
I think I don't even see any correlation between Renberg and Konechny. I'm sorry. I mean,
really? Yeah, Renberg was big.
He was big. For one thing. Konechny is way more skilled than Renberg was.
I don't know. Renberg's pretty darn
come on, listen. Renberg had some skill. Konechny's got great vision. Renberg did not have great vision.
Well, he does, and Wayne Simmons is not John LeClair, but close and similar to John LeClair.
I think that's fair. I think there you have a connection, and I think with Lindros and Patrick you have a connection, but with Renberg and Konechny, you lost me.
All right, we'll see. I mean, I can make this true just by calling the Legion of Doom 2 myself if they ever play together in a game. So I can make this happen. So just know that, right? I don't have to say that I can't make them dominate. So I can't, get the whole thing together. Number 21, the New York Islanders will finish ahead of the New York Rangers.
That is a 10 on the wacky scale.
Yeah, that's 1 million.
1 million? Wow.
No way.
All right.
The Islanders are a tire fire right now.
They are a tire fire, but they also have really good young players who could come.
I agree. I like some of their young
come around all at once. This is the kind of team that could suddenly shock you. This is a team that it's very typical, and this is not uncommon at all. That you see a team like 2 years ago, the Islanders had their moment, right? They looked pretty good. They got past around the playoffs.
Yeah.
Then they collapsed back. That's not uncommon for that to happen. And then the third year for that team to actually be very, very good for legit.
I just see the Tavares situation being a cancer on that team in the sense that it'll be a distraction constantly throughout the year if they allow it to fester. If they get him signed, maybe they have a good year, but I still don't think they'll beat out the Rangers. The Rangers, they've added Shattenkirk. I think their defense is better.
Not a Shattenkirk fan.
Yeah, but I think he fits. I think he fits there.
I think to a degree, but the Rangers need to. They've lost some defensive spunk on this team, And
they've actually, by losing like Girardi, they've helped their defense. Actually,
I mean the only concern I have with the Rangers is the departure of Stepan. Depriving them of offense up the middle. But if guys like JT Miller and Hayes step it up, they've got enough scoring on the wings. And
they've given up 2 backup goalies over the last 2 years who are very strong for them, right? And
but Pavelic's not like chopped liver. I mean, he's pretty good.
Okay, but he's not. But he's very different than the other 2 were. Like I think the other 2 had better, like Talbot.
Oh, I won't disagree with that. I won't. But
and I think that Lundqvist isn't getting younger. Now Rangers fans will be thrilled about this because whenever I pick the Rangers to do,
I'm sorry, you're talking about Thomas Greiss and who?
Yarrow Halak.
Yarrow Halak.
Come on.
That I should have put in here that Yarrow Halak will have this big resurgence this year, but I didn't put that in there because I'm afraid of it. I think I've done that before. I'm such a Halak fan, but I don't think this will happen.
So far, I've gone back to 2013. The Islanders haven't been ahead of the Rangers. Nope, they weren't that year either. I'm still trying to figure out the last time, so I'll get there.
Yeah, I know it's been a long time.
Maybe 1983.
Number 22. This is my final one. This is not that wacky at all because, I just had to get. I felt like I was more wacky than I've been the last couple of years. But when I look, I always feel like they're crazy. I'm telling you, we should listen to the podcast last year when I did this, and you saw like 5 or 6 things that I got right. You guys were not on board with this. Anyway, number 22. The NHL will announce the return of the Quebec Nordiques at the 2018 NHL Awards.
I mean, that's not that wacky.
It's not that. It's a question of whether it's going to be expansion or transfer. But no, I think that's within the realm of possibility. I think that the NHL, they got the building. There are teams that are in trouble. Yeah,
I think they'll start 2019, 2020. That's their first year.
Yeah, that's not out. That's nuts. That is not nuts at all.
No, yeah, we do have some news, and that's it for wacky predictions. But I appreciate you guys playing along for sure. That really is something that let's look at the Metro Division shirts for a second here, jerseys for a second here. That you
now I'm back to 2008, and we still haven't had the Islanders ahead of them.
Drop it.
But I do appreciate you guys listening and playing along. It's a fun thing we do every year, and I like to hear your predictions too. And actually, later today, I'm going to go back into the comment section from last year because a lot of you had really good ones. I already went through them and sorted out like 5 or 6. Did we
make predictions? I don't know if we did.
And the fans, we were on with Ty. I don't think Russ was on that show. Actually, come to think of it,
okay,
he may have been, but I know. No, I'm talking about the comments of my readers who made predictions last year. So
okay,
there's some good ones there, and because they're usually pretty good. So now I already have timestamped them, so don't try changing them on me now.
Mike likes calling the fans stupid, so I'm sure he did that.
All right, here's the new Adidas Metro jerseys. And these are not all that different.
No, the Devils is different.
The Devils is different. I really like the single sleeve thing. I like this.
Too much red. Too much red.
I like there's a lot of red in this division, isn't there? Like 3 red teams. A little too similar perhaps to what I really do like about the Devils. I actually like this Devils jersey a lot. I like the black that there's no outline around the black on the top. I think that's kind of cool because I just designed jerseys for a soccer team like around here. I've done that a couple of times. I like designing jerseys, so I'd like to look at it.
I'm not in love with it. I like everything else on the bottom row. I think the rest are good. I think the Devils is the one that sort of stands out as the oddball.
Yeah. It does. It does. Seems like Pittsburgh is the same as.
All right, 2003, 2004, the Islanders came in ahead of the Rangers.
There you go. All right, well, that's been a long time then. So we have 14 years. Can I say this about the Capitals? They got to get rid of this stupid thing that says Capitals across.
Tell Ted Leonsis, I agree.
That is the word. At its best, it's the original one is weird, but then they took it and modernized what was already a bad idea.
It's not like their name was the Bullets. It's not like they had to change them. But here's the thing. That original one, I have a T-shirt that I like the way it flows and the colors.
Font. It was like a cool Arial.
That's what it is. It's a great font.
It was a rounded Arial font, and it was solid. And I like that. This one has never made any sense to me.
Even if it was a loser font, it's a great font.
Did you like the emblem?
It's a font.
Did you like the emblem in the late '90s when they made?
No, and it's funny. I was just watching the NHL Network the other day because I'm trying to watch the NHL. The NHL Network has their top 40 thing going on right now. It's another whole thing we can talk about top 50, whatever it is. But so watching the NHL Network is really funny because they showed the highlights of the Kolzig. When Kolzig was the goalie for them in the Stanley Cup Finals because they were doing the memorable Stanley Cup moments.
Yeah.
And one is the Draper goal, And yeah, those jerseys I didn't like at all. No, I didn't. But I gave them credit because there are so many. If there was ever a town that wasn't lacking symbols that you can make into logos, it's Washington, D.C. There are so many.
That's true.
Yeah, you could use the Capitol Dome or the Washington Monument.
Capitol Dome. You could do the Washington Monument. Might be a little bit phallic, but besides that.
Here's my nitpicky thing. Looking at all these jerseys, I've always disliked jerseys with really thick lines, like the Islanders one, the Penguins one. I like with the Rangers. It's a thinner. Same with Carolina. To me, the Capitals and the Blue Jackets one is lazy. There's no line. Or it's almost like pencil thin. But this massive orange band on the Islanders jersey, I think just looks really weak.
It is a little weird. I will say this strictly as a font, and I did like the Capitals font. I just said it was associated with losing, but a real loser font is sans serif. Anyhow,
Comic Sans should never be used at all. That's the one I'm going to throw out there. That's the one that's true. But the Flyers, it's hard to tell because the orange is always hard to tell with the Flyers, but it looks as if they're going to like a less vibrant orange a little bit.
Yeah, they toned down the orange. That's a good
You know what I mean? The orange were like the original. This is more like the original Flyers orange. When they went to the original jerseys and I like the Flyers orange jerseys a lot. I always have, and I think that they should have a patent on orange. And I can't stand the fact that Edmonton and Anaheim have gone to orange. But the and when the Flyers went to black, I thought it was terrible. But I love when they brought back the orange as their main jersey.
It's like a creamsicle orange rather than a Volkswagen orange.
Yeah, like the difference, and anybody can see this. If you go to like if you're at a Flyers game, which some of you might be because you're Flyers fans out there, go to the store and then go into the go back there and check out the Bernie Parent vintage like jerseys that they sell back there, or the Bobby Clark vintage jerseys versus the current orange, and you'll see that that was more of a red orange than this is more of an orange now that they have.
Yes.
This looks more like a muted orange.
Yes.
So kind of which I think is good because I do think they're bright, but I think that they're classic. I think that when I look at all these jerseys, to me, the Rangers and the Flyers stick out as the best jerseys on this board.
I agree with that. I think they did it this way though, so it wouldn't be the same orange as the Islanders.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I mean, it's pretty close though. When you're looking on here, that's pretty hard.
Yeah, but there is a difference though.
Yeah. I mean, and I was okay with the orange, the Islanders and Oilers using orange with blue because orange and blue is the coolest color combination there is, I've always thought. But I don't think that, I don't know. I'm not a big fan.
Look, I will say this about the Penguins jersey. While it's a decent jersey, there's no place for white in that jersey.
Right. The Penguins have had some strange jerseys over the years, too. Like,
Yeah.
At some point
the one I like the most is the powder blue Penguins jersey.
They were pretty cool.
Everybody likes that the most.
I did not like the green and red Devils jerseys when they first came out.
I liked them. I thought they were good for a while.
I mean, green, it was kind of cool that you have green. I mean, you know what I was wearing around the other day is I have this, I'm going to hang it up behind me because I always hang up jerseys behind me here. The one I have behind me now actually is funny because this is one of my men's hockey league jerseys back there. Teleq. Because I thought we were going to have my buddy Dan on today, who's a Minnesota Wild, and we were both on this men's hockey team.
Oh, okay.
But I was looking at the I was looking at the Minnesota North Stars jersey, which is like the green Minnesota North Stars jersey was such a good jersey. And when you wear that around, like I wear that at the shore a lot. That's one of I have like 4 or 5 jerseys I keep down the beach, and that's all I wear at night on the beach. I get so many great comments about that one. I really wish that they could somehow, the Wild would bring that back in some way, shape, or form. I know it's not even the franchise, but I think it would be good.
Yeah, I think it would be good.
All right, so let's get on to Montreal, should we?
Okay.
Shall we? Here we go. So let me talk about the Montreal Canadiens for a second with you guys, because this is a team that obviously, as we talk about a lot, but I want to get into a little bit more of just less emotional talk about Montreal today and more just like what they really are. Okay, the Montreal Canadiens finished first last year in the Atlantic Division, which I don't think many people remember. This is a 103-point team. So for all the crap that they get, team that finished with 103 points. Granted, it was in a division that was pretty much falling apart at the bottom end of it, but still, they did finish. And there was a while where Ottawa took over towards like the last month of the season and passed them, but Montreal did manage to still finish ahead of them. They were okay. So goals per game. I always think of Montreal as a team that can't score, right? And that's been their issue. They were 15th, which is not great, but not as bad as I would have predicted if you just had told me what were they. I would have said they were like 20-something, but they were 15th. Goals against per game, they were 3rd, which of course has all to do with Carey Price, who has been spectacular for them.
Oh, Shea Weber had a great year. It has to do with their defense.
And Shea Weber was an improvement over PK Subban defensively for sure. Yes. Power play percentage 13th in the league, penalty killing 14th in the league. The age on this team is kind of interesting. Their top 12 forwards are 27.1 years old, which is not old. It's not as many of the teams we've been talking about have been more in 28, 29 range. This is 27.1. Not that old of a team as far as that goes. Now we get to the team itself and the lines as they're listed here on rosterresource.com, which we keep using because they really do the best job, I think, and definitely support the website.
It's close. I don't think they've got it nailed, but it's close.
Yeah, they don't think we'd have it nailed. So the top line they have is Jonathan Duran, centering Max Pacioretty and Brendan Gallagher. Second line, Thomas Plekanec, the ageless Thomas Plekanec, around Arturi Lehkonen and Alex Galchenyuk, who
he's not ageless.
Yeah, he's not ageless at all. I know it. He's pretty old. He's 34.9 years old. Well, basically 35. Then the third line, Andrew Shaw, Daniel Hemsky. Hemsky's still playing in the NHL. Did I remember that? It's pretty crazy.
It's crazy.
Fourth line, Mitchell, Byron, and McCarron.
I don't think McCarron will be on the fourth line. I don't think he'll even make it. I would rather see them put Hudon on the fourth line.
Yeah.
He'll get and move Byron onto the other part of the wing.
But Byron scored 20 goals last year.
I know he's going to go higher.
He could be on the second line. He could be on the third line. Hemsky could be lower in the lineup.
Yeah.
And a guy like Philip Danault is probably going to be their number 3 center. Peter Holland might be their number 4 center.
Could be.
Yeah. Hemsky feels like a guy who should have been a Montreal Canadian his whole career. You know, we talked about, and I don't know, that just feels like he feels like a Montreal Canadian type player. And they may end up loving him there. He's the kind of player that could really thrive in Montreal. So I got why they went for it with him, but he has definitely fallen off a lot over the last couple of years. The big thing in the summer that they did, of course, was Carl Alsner, who was who they say will be starting with Weber. Although yesterday we heard it would be Schlemko starting with Weber when Bergeron came out and made his statement. Bergevin, sorry, I always get Bergevin came out and made a statement. Second, Brandon Davidson, Jeff Petrie. Third, Jordan Benn and David Schlemko, or that's how they have it on here. I think that it's likely that Carl Osner and Shea Weber will play together a lot as the year's shut down.
That's all your eggs in one basket, basically, though.
It is, but
I got to tell you something too. I'm sorry, not to flavor a point, but putting McCarron on that fourth line, like he doesn't even score goals anymore. Hudon's had 27 and 28 goals at the AHL level. Like McCarron doesn't even have 27 goals in his AHL career.
Yeah, but Russ, they might want to put McCarron up the middle as the big center, but I think Peter Holland
doesn't even win faceoffs. Like I just don't think he's
but I'm telling you that they think more of him in that organization than we do. I mean, I don't think I think at best he's a fourth line guy in the NHL, but they like his size and his speed improved over time over the last couple of years, so they may give him a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, glaciers are melting faster, so yes, his speed improved, but whatever.
I've heard good things about Andreas Martinson, who they picked up from Colorado last year.
Martinson's a good player. He will never do much in scoring, but he does a lot of little things in the corner. He plays hard. I like Martinson for them.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
And finally, I'll just finish this up, Mike, and then you can go. A lot of people think Mark Strite's going to be in their top 6. And I saw a preview on the NHL Network had him in the top 6. I'm not sure who they had out of this. I guess it would be Davidson. Jordy Ben also deserves a lot of credit for it.
Ben played really well for them.
Really good. And it was funny because I talked to people who saw him play in Dallas. I mean, Bill Meltzer will be the first to tell you that I think he was surprised at Jordy Ben because in Dallas he kind of he said he was okay, but he compared him to that the Flyer defenseman who got in all the trouble with Connor McDavid last year. What's his
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Brandon Manning.
Brandon Manning, he thought was a lot like Jordy Ben.
I think, if you remember, I liked that trade for Ben in Montreal because they have a different philosophy. I think it just changed the philosophy, changed the player.
Jordy Ben is a tough character, and that's what Montreal really needed in front. And they need to protect Carey Price. That's the bottom line, right? So that's this is another team with old goalies. Carey Price is only 30. Montoya is 32, basically 30, almost 33. So
they're setting goal. Like they're
setting goal. There's no question about it. Prospect-wise, they have some coming up, right, Russ? There are some guys. I mean, you mentioned a couple that are interesting.
Yeah, I don't think any of them are really that close. I think the problem is Fucale seems to be off the radar. Mike, who's the other kid? We just talked about him the other day.
The other goaltender? They have McNiven, who they like a lot, but the other.
He's lower down though. McNiven, he's going to be a while.
Charlie Lindgren is the other.
Lindgren is the guy that they're hoping, turns.
Well, Russ, I talked to a couple reporters who cover the Canadians, and they still think Fucale's on the radar. It's one of those situations where he's probably the fourth goalie in the system, and they don't want him being the backup with their AHL team. They want him playing major minutes in the ECHL, and then probably he'll move up. But, you know, like I know Al Montoya's still got a couple years left in his contract, so they're just being.
I hope that for Fucale. I thought highly of him as a goalie, but it just seems like he's getting marginalized. So maybe you're right. Maybe that'll be the play. But for now, Lindgren's higher on the depth chart. I know that.
That's correct. Now, looking at this team overall, I mean, it's not what's there right now. It's what is missing and what they had last year that they don't have. I mean, they finished in first place last year, but they had. They had Radulov, and Radulov was a big force for them, and they don't have Radulov anymore. Agreed. And they move Radulov goes to Dallas via free agency. They trade their number one defensive prospect, a guy who I think is going to be probably in 2 or 3 years a top pairing defenseman in the NHL, in Sergachev. And they get back Jonathan Drouin, who has tons of talent, but I continue to say they're going to play him at center. I don't think he's a center. We'll see if he is, but they're really weak up the middle. Plekanec is 35 years old. He's making $6 million a year. It's an expiring contract. Mm-hmm. He's a shadow of his former self. They have a few. Pacioretty is their best scorer on the wing, and he's the team captain. But he doesn't get a lot of support. I mean, Galchenyuk, if you play him on the wing, he could score 30 goals. But they're paying almost $4 million a year to Andrew Shaw. He doesn't score a lot. Brendan Gallagher is taking a step back offensively. They got a step up from Paul Byron last year. I don't know if you can expect him to get 20 goals. You got Lehkonen, I think, who's a good young player.
He'll get 15.
Yeah, but
he could be on the third line in my mind. I don't think he's a fourth line player.
No, right. But he can play either. It doesn't matter.
And honestly, I think their defense this year is worse than it was last year.
No, it's not.
No, I'm sorry. Andrei Markov, okay, he's 38 years old. He had a great year, Russ. He had a great year. And, Carl Alzner's a different type of defenseman. He's more of a defensive type.
Weber and Alzner is a really good pairing in my opinion.
But again, it's all your eggs in one basket. And then
Davidson and Petrie is actually pretty good.
I'm not a big Davidson fan, and I think they traded a good defenseman in Nathan Beaulieu for absolutely nothing. Probably because
they did that because they believed in Davidson. Honestly, that's
right.
You're not a big Davidson fan, so it makes sense, But they really do believe in him, and they were terrified of losing him, to Vegas. I
think that if I look at their defense, it's more balanced now than it has been in previous years.
I think that this organization took a step backwards from where they were last year, and last year they were not perfect. They needed to upgrade up the middle. I think they have more question marks up the middle now than they did last year. And I think they're weaker on the wings, and I think they're weaker on defense. So right now, Carey Price's task is much tougher to get this team where they need to be.
It's hard to say for me because I think here's the thing. Jonathan Drouin, if you're thinking about Drouin think about right now. Yes, they gave away a really good defensive prospect, but he's not right now. So that could hurt them down the line for sure, and it will hurt them down the line for sure. But right now, you basically traded Drouin for Radulov, essentially, into this lineup. You take Radulov out, and I'll take that trade. I like Drouin, not only is he younger, I think he's as good as Radulov.
But they're two different type of players.
They're different types of players, but Radulov doesn't make the players around him better. Drouin may, that's I think Radulov's going to be a disaster with Ben and with Ben and Sagan. I don't think it lines.
I don't think he's playing on that line. I think he's going to play with Spezza.
Yeah, and I think that could be a problem too because again, Spezza, there's a lot of players in Dallas who like to carry the puck. Radulov has to carry the puck, and that really affected Galchenyuk. It affected Pacioretty. It affected a lot, and he did a great job with it. And he had some really highlight type moments, but he still can't get by the fact he's a selfish player. He just is a selfish player. And he's gotten better and more mature, but he's still a selfish player. Drouin, I don't really think is as a selfish player. I know he had his issues, but I think on the ice, Drouin he'll dish the puck around a lot. He moves the puck around really nicely. I think the fact he wasn't a center, like we talked about yesterday, is okay because he was a center. He got drafted really high as a center, and just in Tampa had all these strong centers. So of course, why not bring him in? He's still so young. I mean, he's only 22. They
have more depth though than they've had. Like right now, Hugh Don is depth. Nikita Sherbak is depth, and he'll let's say you play Sherbak half the year in the AHL and he's ripping it up. they might have guys that they could bring up that could give them some offense, even if they don't start the season. So I know for them.
I know he's taken a little bit of a step back, Russ, but I still have a feeling De La Rose has something.
Yeah, I think he's got something too.
Yeah.
And I think, Pacioretty, he's an interesting one, right? Because he's got, there's people all over the map with Pacioretty, and he's got his definite fans that think he is the best thing since sliced bread. He's got a great shot, but he does have a great attitude. He's a great captain, I think. But at the end of the day, he's not really a top line left wing. In my mind, he's a second line left wing.
Sure.
Gallagher is really not a top line right wing. He's a second line right wing. Duran's like their only legitimate, and Galchenyuk, and I'm surprised in a way. I would have tried to keep. I would have thought about Duran with Galchenyuk if you're going to do this. I don't know. That's just my feeling on it, because there's guys going to be around for a while, get them going. But this team has Carey Price, so they can do what they want to do, and they're in a division that is not strong. Besides Toronto and Tampa Bay in this division, I think there's a big drop off. Ottawa had a great year, Boston had an okay year last year, but still, you got to look at this: Florida, Detroit, Buffalo. Buffalo could become strong on this. Buffalo could be a force in this division, but will more than 3 teams make the playoffs out of this division? It seems unlikely. It seems like there's going to be 5 teams out of the Metropolitan Division. So when you put Montreal and Toronto, I think are 2 teams that are going to make this, and Tampa, I think you've got your 3 teams that are going to make the playoffs in this division, and it's going to be hard for anybody else to top them.
My prediction is that Montreal will be battling Buffalo and Ottawa for 3rd place, but I'm not 100% sure they're going to win that battle, because I still think that they're offensively challenged. I still don't think they have a number 1 center. And I think they spent money on the wrong type of defenseman to replace Markov. I like Alzner. Alzner, I think, is a good defenseman, and they're too dependent on Carey Price. This team, if Carey Price goes down for 4 weeks, they are done.
No, there's no question about that. And although I do think Montoya is a perfect kind of backup for Carey Price.
He's a fine backup, but he's not a number. He's not a number 1. And you can say this with any team: if they lose their starting goaltender, like the Canadians lost Carey Price 2 years ago, they're not going to make the playoffs. It's whether a team can weather that 4 to 6 week injury where a goalie is out with a knee or a groin or whatever, and do they have enough to at least be over 500 for that 4 to 6 week span? And I'll tell you right now, I look at the Canadians roster, and I think if they're lucky, they're 500 without Price for 4 to 6 weeks, and that's a best case scenario.
I think that is best case scenario, but I still think Montreal will eke out a playoff spot. I don't think 5 from the Metro will make the playoffs, and that's all I'm going to say on the Metro.
Don't think 5 from the Metro.
No.
Tougher division. They'll all be playing each other. That's going to balance it out.
Possible. And also you got to remember this is a full year training camp with Claude Julien, which I think is a big
plus.
Claude Julien came in halfway without all of his players. Some of these players were definitely Claude Julien. I think Hemsky's a Claude Julien call. Alzner's a Claude Julien call. Some of these players are definitely along those lines. Duran is another guy that Julien really wanted. So, these are different kind of players. Some of these players, like Hemsky, would have been totally buried in Michel Therrien's system. He would not have been able to.
I agree with that.
They wouldn't have played him at all because he doesn't play any defense. He doesn't get back. All those things. Julien's okay with that if the guy is scoring, he'll get scoring from other places. So he'll get defense from other places. It's weird to me that there's a strange thing about the Canadians this year is that they don't start against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that's a sin. This has to happen every year. Why do they not do this? Why do they not open it? They open against the Sabres in Buffalo.
That's still a pretty good matchup.
That's a good matchup,
but they don't. And then that weekend they play in Washington and in New York.
And because I think they actually did it because it's been done so many times, it's gotten a little old. And
it's such a classic. It's such a.
I know, but the Leafs are opening the season in Winnipeg, and it's Matthews versus Line. But
that's not. I don't know. I get it. But this is. There's certain things I look forward to every year, and one of them is opening night Toronto Montreal on Hockey Night in Canada. It's just got to be. It's just got to be. I think that's just foolish. They couldn't have. They play a week after. They do play the second Saturday.
Yeah. So there you go.
But to not even play the first weekend against Toronto, I don't have an issue with that. That's kind of weird to me. All right. Well, there's the Montreal Canadiens. Let's get our predictions. You did just say your prediction. I think you thought they were gonna
I think they're going to eke their way in.
Eke their way in, Mike.
Yeah, I think they're going to get the wild card in the Atlantic. I don't think they'll finish in the top 3.
So you think 4 teams from the Atlantic as well, Mike?
Yeah.
All right. I think they'll make the playoffs. I do think they'll finish in the top 3. I don't know if they'll finish ahead or behind Toronto. I think it'll be close between the two of them. I think what'll be fun about it is we're going to get to see ourselves a first round playoff series between Toronto and Montreal, which will be
that would be great.
Which is always great when that happens. So, and I think that's something that we will definitely see. I think that
which means Matt Martin will be running over Carey Price.
Oh boy,
this is very geared towards that. This is very geared towards that. Let's talk about some PTOs real quick before we get out of here, Mike.
Chris Kelly is PTO with the Edmonton Oilers, which is him following Peter Chiarelli around because he was in Ottawa with Chiarelli as GM. He went to Boston with Chiarelli, and now he's being invited on a PTO to Edmonton. And Daniel Winnick to the Minnesota Wild.
Love this.
Which I think is that's a good one. I think that's a good one.
Winnick, it's amazing to me that Winnick isn't signed.
Well, and the one Cody Franzen happened on the weekend, and if you look at the situation in Chicago, I think it's PTO in name only. I think he's going to sign a contract, so I think it's there. So I think they just invited him on a PTO, but they already agreed to the deal, and like the only thing that could screw it up is if he gets hurt or if he plays really terribly. But yeah.
No, I think so. I like, and then, okay, we had, Van de Velde, has, doing a PTO in Ottawa for Chris Van de Velde, played every game last year with the Flyers, I think. That's a solid guy that you could sign maybe to a minimum contract and he won't hurt you. He could be your 12th or 13th forward. Yeah, I like Van de Velde. He's loved obviously by the coach here. He really is impressive. As far as how much Faith Hackstall put in Chris Van de Velde. So it's good. Van de Velde at times will surprise you. He times has some really nice slick moves, but he's one of those players that just kind of reminds me of almost like a Kent Manderville type player to me. And Kent Manderville had a lot of had probably a little bit more skill than Van de Velde, but it's kind of similar in terms of the Flyers have had players like that before that are just fast players who run around a lot and kill time, but don't really.
He's the perfect energy forward, is what he is.
He's a perfect energy forward, yeah, and North Dakota guy. So, there's that. Okay, so and let's see. So there's another rumor I wanted to throw out there too that's flying around. And this is Hockey Buzz writer here, Avis Kalins, who is saying that we could possibly see Pastrnak heading to the KHL. It feels very unlikely, of course.
This is got to be. This is similar to the Athena CU situation where they're letting it know that it's an option out there, and they're trying everything. They're throwing the kitchen sink at the whole situation here. And right now, Brad Marchand came out yesterday and said, I don't have a problem if Pastrnak makes more than I do. Of course he doesn't, because he's got his contract.
Right.
He's locked in for 7 more years. So of course he's being sort of a good buddy to Pastrnak and say, right now, I just don't understand the mindset of the Boston Bruins. The guy scored 34 goals for you. The guy is one of the best young players in the NHL. Pay him. Stop.
But you guys don't want to pay him $7 million either, and I think that's what he's demanding. So
but he's using Draisaitl as a leverage play. But I think he wants to make more than Marchand. I think he wants to make around what Bergeron makes, which is close to $7 million. If they offer him that, I think the deal gets done. But I think the Bruins are trying to get him on the cheap. I think they're trying to get him around $6 million, which is what's been floated out there in the media. And that to me is insulting because he's a better player than that.
Yeah, I do. I totally agree with you. I think he's a much better player than that. And I think that the KHL would be a real disaster for him, actually, if he went to the
I think it's just a threat. You know what? If he goes over there for a year and the Bruins suffer because of it, you know what I'm saying? If they can't score goals, the clock is ticking on the Bruins right now. You're in the last year of Chara. Bergeron is I think he's in his early 30s. He's a guy who's played a lot of tough minutes in his career. Marchand is in his prime. Krejci is over 30 years old. With the core group that they have right now, they have a limited window. Backus is over 30. You cannot risk having Pasternak not be there, because I think you basically throw away any chance at the playoffs if he's not there, and then you have a situation that might just decompensate.
Right. Finally, today, before we get out of here, Seattle, rumors today, or not rumors, I guess, legitimate approval, right? Correct? Is that correct?
$600 million deal approved. They're going to basically, it sounds like, gut the Key Arena and build it, completely build it from the inside out. That's the thing that was confusing, because at first I thought they were going to build the initial report sounded like they were going to build a completely new arena, but now it's the renovation of the Key Arena. But essentially, by renovating it, that means they're gutting it completely and making it a modern facility. And this is going to lead to the NHL going to Seattle. It's just a matter of time. There's interest there. They want to get the NBA back. They want to get the NHL back. It makes too much sense. And adding this would make sense for that team to bring the Western Conference up to 16 and have 32 teams. And I think eventually it's going to happen.
I do too. And I want them to be called the Seattle Thunderbirds. I've always liked the name. I like the logo. I like that team. I mean, I know that it might not be. I know that Thunderbirds still exists, obviously.
Yeah, but it would go along with the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, there would be a bird motif. It would go along with it. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, and the Thunderbirds they've always had a good following there. I know a lot of people who played there. They love it. They say Seattle's a great city. I mean, it does. It's interesting. I always thought, I know Seattle there was a big issue similar to Buffalo, Toronto, with Seattle, Vancouver, for years. And I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that that's not being mentioned more. That's not an issue right now, because it has been in the past. And unless the NHL's already made some kind of deal with the Canucks that we don't know about.
Yeah, but and I don't know the geography of how much distance is, but I think it's about 100 miles, right?
Yeah, no, it's not that close. I mean, but it is an area where you have the Seattle people are Vancouver Canucks fans. They are. I talk to people out there. That's the team they root for. Some of them root for the Sharks a little bit, but most of them mostly are Canucks fans. The cities, Seattle and Vancouver, have like a long history of kind of supporting each other. That concern is going to be thrown to the wayside, because honestly, I believe it's a top 10 television market in the U.S. It is, and it's what's really impressing NHL, and people might not realize this, but I've talked to people in the league. They've really been impressed by the soccer, the way soccer has been embraced there, and yeah, the MLB team is huge there. I mean, it's the biggest, one of the biggest. It is the biggest MLB team as far as markets go. They completely, I mean, they dominate. And when you go through Seattle, people will not dominate on the field, but when you go to Seattle, you'll see nothing but Seattle, jerseys from the MLS. So, I'm always impressed. Not MLB, sorry, MLS, and that's sort of another makes people think that these are real sports fans who are looking beyond just your normal baseball, basketball, football thing.
I mean, the only concern is going to be because, there's talk about the NBA, but I don't know if it'll be the Sonics coming back or they change the name, but that the NBA will come back in concert with the NHL, is that you'll have five major sports teams there with the Seahawks, with the Mariners, and then the NBA, the NHL, and MLS being considered a major sport there. Whether there'll be enough dollars to spread around, but I think that's a risk that the NHL's
they're willing to take it. There was a lot of talk for a lot of time, a quiet little push for Portland, Oregon, instead of Seattle. And I really always thought Portland, Oregon would have been great. I think they would have, because they could have been not the only real team there, but like the only one of the bigger major teams.
Yeah, the NBA is there, and they would just have to battle the
NBA. And Portland is more of a San Jose-ish type city.
Yes.
Of younger people, very tech savvy people. So a lot of transplanted people one of the people don't realize that one of the main reasons the Sharks made it out there the way they did and the way they were so popular early on. And I lived out there for a while, so I can tell you that that whole area of San Jose is a whole lot of transplanted people from the East Coast. Portland is the same way now. And the tech industry tends to bring single people, a lot of single men for the most part, to, and of course single women, but single men who are hockey fans to a new city in San Jose. And they basically, where you would see less families in San Jose and more groups of guys who work together going to San Jose Sharks games. And these are guys who who didn't have, when they're out there by themselves, didn't have families, so there's nothing else to do but go to the hockey game. That's what they would do. And the Portland could work the same way. So, I do believe that Seattle will get a relocated team and not an expansion team too. I also believe that. And I have a feeling for that. And who knows who that'll be. A lot of people that I talk to feel that could be the Florida Panthers, right? That's the team that could end up in Seattle. It's possible, but I hope not for the Panthers fans' sake, but that's what it seems to be possible. So that's all the time we have for today. Thanks, Mike. And thanks, Russ, wherever you are. Russ had to duck out for a second. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow night, Russ and I will be at the Flyers rookie game. So if you're going to go to that game at all, we might put out some, you can have some. I'm going to bring tomorrow night. One of the other predictions I forgot to say, I'm going to be bringing Drink a Toast, Take a Boost with me tomorrow for Russ to try, along with Anthony, at the game tomorrow. So I wonder how I'd be able to get that into the arena. I thought about that. That's going to be interesting. Like, how am I going to sneak that into the
What, is it an illegal substance? Well,
no, but I can't. But you usually don't bring outside beverages with me. I guess I can just throw it into a water bottle of some kind. Maybe they'll let me through. We'll find out. If I take a boost, if I take the time to find this crazy substance in Jersey, and I better not be confiscated from me. That's all I can say. Remember that the buzz is just hockey. Thanks for supporting us. Talk to you soon. Tell your friends.